Yes, also known Avery like a very nice guy, also known as Carlton Banks. Carlton with a K, BANXXX. Carlton with a K, BANXXX. And I'm here with my brother, the co-host, Just Devon.
It is just Devon. Thank you.
Just Devon.
We're in the middle. These get released later, so we're in the middle of the beginning of the zombie apocalypse. We don't know what we're in the middle of. If you're looking at this right now and you're scavenging for food, things went bad with Corona.
Yeah.
If you're not, we overreact.
Just as
it could go
to get famous.
anywhere. It could go anywhere. Yeah. Who knows? I mean, if we're all scavenging for food, maybe that's how you become famous.
Wow.
They're like, you're the one guy on the radio.
Wow.
I don't know.
That would be terrible. And also, it's Pie Day, too.
It is Pie Day. I almost missed out on Pie Day.
Record. All right, and we're back.
Yeah, we're back at home edition.
I mean, sometimes we're at home, sometimes we're in the studio. Things are gonna have to go. We'll be kind of back and forth as stuff is going on in this pandemic. So we just got to get used to it. Like, it is what it is. We'll make it work. School
Pretty much.
kind of starting back for some people. Some people are virtual. Some people are not. Basketball's having a great season. If you like ridiculously high scoring games, like you were saying.
Yeah, it's the all-star. It feels like it's the all-star game every night.
Yeah, dude.
With just a little bit more defense.
400 points.
Yeah. 129 to 113. I'm like, every night.
Yeah.
Somebody hits 129.
Yeah.
Golly.
I'm like, there's no getting around it. It's like we said there shouldn't be an asterisk on what's happening, but looking back, we know there's going to be an asterisk on what's happening. Like, you're going to be like, yo, I mean, I know you put up 60, but you was in the bubble. And it shouldn't be. I was like, no, you still put up the 60. Like, come on now.
Yeah.
Well, we are back.
I'm like, man, what is it? Baseball not happening, football. Who's that? Like, yeah, not happening. People sneaking people into the bubble. No, man, that's
football's gonna happen. I feel like they're gonna push football just because it just doesn't matter.
Nah, man, it's too many people. College football ain't coming back.
They gonna put. I'm talking about the NFL. I'm talking about the football that I watch. I don't even watch college football.
College football is the best football. It's superior football.
I understand people say that, but I don't believe it. I just don't. Give me the best college,
the knowledge.
The best college team against the best NFL team, and I like to watch the professionals play. I'm not saying you're not a good college player. I'm just saying there's a whole lot of y'all. It's a whole lot of random conferences. It's too much stuff to keep up with. And the truth is, if you didn't go to that school for college, I kind of don't care. Like, you just
I know what you mean.
Pick the winning team. Like, you're like, oh, hey, that's my school. Did you go there? Is that your school?
Yeah.
Did you go? Am I hating because I went to 2 HBCUs and one of them kind of has a football team and the other one don't have a football team at all? Maybe I am a little. Maybe.
I think so, but I mean,
it is what it is.
It's like, you like the Chicago Bulls, but, you ain't been to Chicago. But fair enough. Speaking of people in Chicago, one guy, actually, this comedian had one of the classic shows in Chicago, a guy we like named Bill Burr. Yeah.
I like Bill Burr, yeah.
Yeah, Bill Burr, he does a lot of stuff. He's kind of funny. Bill Burr, he's a comedy superstar, an actor, and most importantly, you know what he does? He also is a drummer. And I listen to his podcast every once in a while, and he rants on about various topics like working out, food, weight loss, his wife, and rock music, especially the place of the drummer. One thing that caught my attention is when he spoke about the drums, he said the drummer has the power and responsibility. In his humble opinion, the drummer not only keeps the time, but is solely responsible for getting your band to the next level. The guy who gets you the hit. The guy who gets you the Grammy, and he also gets you the attention from the world. Now, dude, we're black. Drums are extremely important in music and culture. And I mean, in civilization, and especially, you know, the continent of Africa. So while drums hold a deep and significant meaning, they herald political and social events, attending ceremonies of birth and death and overall life. Now, our guest today can tell you about the significance in life of him being a young father, a family man, and a man of faith. With his back against the wall and his parents' blessing, he took the music world by storm by understanding it's not all about passion. It's the music business, all right? And he does his business. And all around creative business endeavors to make proper art, and you should, go ahead and follow Proper Art as well. You should know him by now. He's the 2-time Grammy Award-winning producer, also Phil Wade's partner as well. Yeah. Nate, the Beatbreaker Robinson. How did I just trip over that?
You did such a great intro. You flubbed up on the name.
I did.
Say his name again.
Nate, the Beatbreaker Robinson.
Hey, excellent.
I guess shout out to Lecrae.
Yeah.
Lecrae's drummer. Like shout out. Worked with a lot of people as well.
Yeah, man. Shout out to Phil Wade. That's my man. What's going on, fellas?
What's happening, man?
Oh, nothing much, man. Welcome to the show.
Man, thank you for having me, man. It's my pleasure to be here.
We appreciate you.
Technically, I'm in my own house, but yeah, I'm pleasure.
Hey, man, we're going to try to make it work as best as we can make it work. We appreciate you zooming in. So that helps us out a little. Nate, we're going to get off starting out because I looked at your documentary that you have online. Tell us about where you're from.
Man, south side of H-Town. You know what I'm saying? That's the easiest way to put it. But
I understand.
Out of Houston, man. You know, born and bred, raised until I left and came to Atlanta. But so yeah, that's everything that raised me over there. Like church, school, you know, all of that.
And even in the documentary, they talk about like you just kind of had this natural ability for drumming. Your mom tells a funny story about you beating a hole into her car.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then she kind of alludes to, she's like, well, you can guess what happened after that.
Oh, yeah.
So, I guess I'm gonna start off with, did your mom ever apologize to you for that? Because you're like, yo, I'm a popular drummer now, Mom.
Apologize. What is that?
Moms don't apologize.
And I mean, and to be fair, like, I earned that one. You know what I mean? It was I was playing on the dashboard, but I was also a little boy, so I did a little bit of like poking with the pencil too, and you know what I mean? Yeah, I earned that one.
Now, how old were you when that happened?
Probably 7, maybe somewhere up in there. I was a kid.
You were a kid. So
yeah.
at 7 years old, I mean, I guess what's the earliest time you kind of remember being driven towards music?
Man, honestly, like forever. Like I think my earliest memories, I was probably 3-4 years old, you know, and I was like playing at church or doing things for my mom's friend's church. They had like a little startup church, you know what I mean? So they didn't have funds to like actually pay for musicians or whatever. So my mom was like, well, he can play, you know? So like I'm a little kid playing with the old lady on the piano, but I had to be 3-4 years old. And like, I can remember like keeping the beat, you know what I mean? And just trying to hang on to what was going on. Yeah.
At 3 and 4.
My little kitty drum set. Yeah, man.
That's awesome.
That's
I started first, man. I don't ever remember doing anything different. I was just attracted to it, and I just started trying to figure it out, you know.
And that says a lot. I mean, at 3 and 4, you're keeping the beat, because I feel like anybody that has kids or is around kids, if you've watched kids try to clap on beat to music, you can definitely see who has rhythm instantaneously. Like, yeah. So I'm like, what are you clapping at? Like, do you hear the music? They're just like, hey, man, I'm just doing it.
And likewise, like I can see it now. I see the little kids that have natural rhythm, and I'm like, okay, I recognize that now. You know what I mean? Like they got it. I tell their parents, like, man, let them go for whatever they're trying to go for, because they have some musical inclination. You know.
Absolutely.
Your kids have natural rhythm?
Yeah, man. I got 3 girls. All of them, well, one of them is not so much, but but she has really good taste in music. You know what I mean?
We see. That's good.
She has excellent taste in music, but she has no musical ability. But the other 2,
she got a piece of you. You got good taste in music, so hey.
Yeah, I give her that. Like I use her to help keep my ears young. You know what I mean? So I tell her to share her music with me all the time.
That's what's up.
Yeah, my oldest daughter, she sings. She's pretty amazing. And my middle daughter, my baby she's a tennis player, but she's got a whole lot of musical ability too. She just don't care.
Okay. Oh, okay. That's actually pretty good. You talk about your kids and how, you know, some of them they each have these pieces of you. Was there somebody in your family that was just inclined to music that you were under when you were coming up?
Nah, man. Like that's what's weird. Like nobody. I have an uncle, my mom's brother, who was in the marching band in high school or whatever, and he went to Forest Brook. They were really dope back in the '80s when he was there. So that inspired me to, like, you know, just kind of know what marching band looked like. But he wasn't a musician, you know what I mean? Like he played in the band because he was too small to play football, and he enjoyed the band. Yeah. But once it was over, you know.
Okay. So you're coming up. We're going back to you're 7 years old. You're drumming. You're making your way through learning, and you're in the church. Is it just drums, or are there any other instruments that you're playing?
Man, at that time, my mom, like, she put me in piano lessons, but I wasn't applying. Like, all I wanted to do was just play the drums and play basketball. Okay. You know what I mean? But like musically, I was just enthralled with drums. So, you know, I would use my ears and just kind of cheat my way through the piano lessons. You know what I mean? So she took me out. She was like, "You're wasting my money because you're not learning to read." You know, I'm hearing what the kids play. It was a group lesson, so I'm hearing what the kids play ahead of me, and I can just come up and, like, just kind of fake and play it. So I kind of regret that. I was too young to really know, but I wish I would have took it more seriously, because, you know, the piano is just critical for, you know, for everything. It's just the foundation. So now I'm trying to play catch up.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Also, the piano is cool. Like, he took piano when we were kids. I took piano. I feel like everybody that took piano and gave it up tells everybody else, like, yo, you should have stuck with it. Like, I tell all my little cousins now, like, if you're doing piano, I'm like, yo, no matter what people say, you're going to get a point where you're like, I don't want to do this anymore.
Just keep playing.
Fight through that, because I promise you, just knowing how to play the piano, I don't know, it's just going to work in your favor. Like,
it's weird, right? Like, you might not even become a musician, but somehow knowing how to play the piano still ends up working in your favor.
Yeah, absolutely.
All that music comprehension, all of with that piano.
Yeah. I think it does something for your IQ too, like, just in general, man. Like,
they always say, like, when you go to school and we're gonna get to school because you were talking about my flag back here, but, like, you know, when you go to school for music, I know when I was at Xavier, the music majors took the most classes, like the most hours. I think at one point, one of my friends in music major is like, I'm taking, like, more math than almost anybody I know. So music, like the music majors, where it's almost all encompassing, like how much you have to know in order to be successful at it. So yeah, it's definitely one of those things where kids that are taking it are just well-rounded students.
Yeah, it works out that way, man. I definitely, that's a small regret. I wish I'd have taken it a whole lot more seriously when I had the chance to.
Now, I mean, even so much so, I mean, you still made your way up. At what point do you start to take the drumming seriously?
So I had this period, you know, like middle school days, where I thought I was going to the NBA, right? I was just like all basketball for a minute. And then I realized, got to 9th grade, I realized, man, I'm not really as tall as, like, real basketball players. You know what I mean? I'm 6'1".
Okay, I understand.
You know what I mean? It's like
I get it.
I thought I was on my way there, and then all of a sudden we
I
hit
don't
the
know
break.
why. In high school and middle school, you're like, 6'1" is tall, and then you see an NBA player, and you're like, oh, I'm regular height.
Not even just that. Like middle school, you like I'm tall, kinda. He's taller and he's taller. Then you get to high school, and there's a dude who's 14. There's Sheldon. There's a dude.
Yeah.
And
We
he's
got a
like,
cousin that's just
"All right."
ridiculously tall, and I'm like, oh, okay, that's why you're on the basketball team.
Like in ninth grade, when it was like around time for tryouts, I was like, so that's the point guard. Like the point guard is 6'3". You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, this okay. I think this decision just got made for me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So then I started like taking like just the music education part pretty seriously in high school, early high school. But later in high school, like my junior year or so, you know, I had my oldest daughter really young. So I had her when I was a sophomore. And then my junior year, I got my first like real, you know, professional situation at a church, and it was paying me like way more than all my friends that were working in McDonald's, and you know, for a lot less of the time. And it was, you know, it was making sure my child support payments were getting paid. And so I was like, man, wait a minute, I'm able to do this, still go to school, you know, and I'm still able to kind of focus on my future and do, you know, figure out what I want to do next. So that was the moment when I realized, like, all right, this is a path I can take that's gonna, you know, financially do what I needed to do right now, and I need to just try to make sure I'm the best, you know what I mean, and see where it leads me, and yeah, that's how I got started. That's what made me foolish enough to give it a shot. You know, it was taking care of what I needed to take care of at that moment. You know,
I think what I liked about your documentary is that section where you were talking about. I mean, there's a point where you talk about becoming a young father, or the people around you are talking about how you became a young father, and it doesn't appear to derail you. Like it almost focuses you to where, yeah. It's like, so tell me about that time period where it's like, how did having a child at such a young age influence what you were doing?
Yeah, man. I wouldn't necessarily like recommend it for anybody else, but, but like I was, man, you know, young, early 90s, I was definitely getting tempted to do the foolish stuff, you know what I'm saying? And all of a sudden I had this responsibility, and it was like that day, like that moment when I found out, like everything just switched, you know what I'm saying? And all of a sudden, like it got clear to me, like what was important and what wasn't. And like I kind of just like made a U-turn that day, you know.
How old were you?
I was 15.
Wow.
I was 15 when she was born.
Oh, wow. Okay.
15 when she was born?
Yeah.
So you were in the 9th grade when you found out?
I was in the 10th grade.
Okay.
Yeah, 15 and I didn't find out until she was, literally, I found out the day after she was born.
Oh,
So,
wow.
Yeah. So
okay, so let's talk about that. I mean, the day after she's born, first of all, describe that day, that call, those feelings. Like, what was happening that day?
So that day, my daughter was born January the 25th, but the 26th. So I get my days mixed up still because like it was all jumbled.
We'll edit that.
She knows it's funny. It's like a running joke. Her birthday is the 26th of January. I found out on the 27th of January.
Wow.
And, so I was at school. We were getting ready for like the Mardi Gras parade down in Galveston, which happens sometime in February.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So we were, you know, just practicing for that or whatever. And so this is like 93. This is pre, you know, everybody has a cell phone. This is back when only your mama have a cell phone. You know? So she calls from the hospital. She calls the band room, you know, landline, which all the kids, if you're in the band, like everybody knows the band room number because like that's what your mom has to call. You got to call your parents, whatever. So she knew that would be, for some reason, bro, I still don't know to this day. She decided to not let me know anything. So she didn't have a way to contact me besides calling the band room. So she calls the band room. We're out on the practice field. The band secretary, who was a student, answers the phone and then runs out to the band field, stops on the sidewalk. Like, she didn't like go to the band director and like whisper in his ear. Nothing. She stopped on the sidewalk and made a public service announcement for everybody to hear. Like, hey, Nate, Tasha's on the phone, and she just said she had just had a baby. So now, like, everybody is looking at me while I gotta like take this walk down the sidewalk back to the band room to find out what's going on. So I went and called my mom, and I was like, Mom, this is what she said. My mom was like, no, that's a lie. Like, I'll be up there to pick you up in a minute. So mom came, scooped me up to the school. She's like, we're going to the hospital. We can go just squared away right now. We drive to the hospital. When we come in the room, and my mom saw my daughter, and she was like, yeah, that's your daughter.
Oh, so your mom was instantly, she's like, no, that's definitely it. That's your child.
Right away. So yeah, that was it. That was like the moment, you know what I mean? So I found out all of this in one day, and got to lay my eyes on it and realize, like, yes, this is real. And I went home, and my mom and my dad had like a little 5-minute conversation. I thought it was gonna be like the sky's gonna fall, but it was a quick, this is your responsibility. Like, we'll help you out, but you made a man's decision. Now you gotta step up and do what you gotta do. And that was it,
Okay. And then you still went through, finished high school.
Yeah, man. Congrats.
And then you went to, you could talk about your school. Go ahead.
The best HBCU.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I went to Prairie View A&M University. Like, some of us are luckier than others, man.
So you enrolled at PV, and then you're still. So at this point, are you still like, I'm gonna become a professional drummer?
Yeah, man. So late high school, my junior year, my senior year, I started to, like I said, I was working in a cool church situation that was way above like my level. I shouldn't have been there, but it worked out good. So like some of the people that were coming through there on a regular basis are some of the greats right now. Like, Robert Glasper, the Kim Burrells. Like, they would do these musicals all the time, like once a month. And literally everybody who's anybody was there. So it was a real good like training ground. You know what I mean? I got to learn what it was like to be in a high pressure situation. I got to learn from some really, really, exceptional musicians and singers and other players. And so that started to open up some other doors around the city, like to do, studio sessions or, doing club gigs or, sitting in for certain people when they would come through town or whatever. So all this is happening like when I'm, a senior in high school. And when I got to PV, it was school and it was band, which took a lot of my time, but I'd already started to open some of those doors in Houston. So I was burning the candle at both ends a lot. I would be at band practice till 11 o'clock at night, then drive to Houston and go do a session until 2 or 3 in the morning, come back to school, go to school the next morning, So yeah,
and just so people know, people that don't know, how far is Houston, PV from Houston?
It's it's a solid 45 minutes to get to some civilization, and then you got to go wherever you're trying to go.
Exactly. So it's still a drive, especially depending on if you're coming from PV Houston, and then depending on what part of Houston you have to go to.
And I was going to Sugar Hill, which is over by U of H.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So I was having to drive all the way across town. Yeah.
And then to have to go back. So you're still in here and you're making connections. School. I thought one of the other interesting things was you learned in the church. You came up in the church. My brother and I also came up in the church too. But there was a funny part in your documentary where you were like, I'm not really doing this gospel music stuff. Yeah. And I was thinking the same thing. It's funny because until Lecrae, I was definitely like, you can hold off on your gospel rap. Yeah. Like I said, I'm cool. I don't want to hear it. So tell us about eventually getting to that point where you're starting to get jobs with artists where you're traveling and the eventual meetup with Lecrae.
Yeah, man. So yeah, that was I was at Prairie. You know, I was dead set on trying to finish. Like, you know, that was my thing. It's like, man, I'm trying to finish school because I want to have that in my bag, but I'm also trying to make every inroad I can, like, professionally. So I was grinding, like I was two different people. And one day I got a phone call. This was, you know, when cell phones started to become a thing. So now I got a phone, and I got a call in class, in one of my business classes, and it was one of my good friends who's, you know, a very well-regarded drummer. He called me and was like, man, I got a job for you if you can do it. And it was with Wayman Tisdale. And so I was like, you know, I knew Wayman from NBA, from being a basketball fan, and I really didn't know that he was a musician too. So I started doing some little research, you know, and I saw that he like had records out or whatever. So I was like, dang, man, this is the opportunity I've been waiting for, like, to just kind of break out a little bit, you know. But it was also gonna mean leaving school, because this was like the very beginning of the semester. You know what I mean?
What year was this? I mean, for in school, sophomore.
Oh, for me, this was my junior year.
Okay.
So like I'm getting down the road. Like I'm getting, you know,
you was almost to the finish line.
Yeah.
And so it was gonna mean me leaving school, and so I thought about it long and hard, man, and weighed my cost and my real life cost, because at that time, like, now my daughter is like 3, 4, you know what I'm saying, and she was basically becoming 100% of my responsibility. Like this was happening slowly. Like every day it was becoming more and more apparent that she was gonna be with me. So it's like, man, I gotta make this jump into the real world, you know. And so I did it, and that was like 2000 when I jumped out and left school and ran out with Wayman. And so from there I kept, you know, coming back. When I was out, I was back trying to go finish school again, and the same kind of situation happened again. I was in class, it was a summer class, and the same dude called me like, man, I got a job for you. And this time it was with Kelis. And so it was like, that was gonna mean leaving the country for like a month and a half. So
and
it was
what album was this for Kelis that y'all were touring on?
Tasty album, the one with Milkshake.
Oh yeah, because that is a good album. Huge album.
That's a really good album, actually. Yeah.
Sugar Honey Iced Tea was my song on there.
Yes.
A lot of people slept on Kelis, man, but like, yeah, that album was actually real good. I had fun on that whole tour because I was able to play those songs, like Millionaire, 3000, like that's a really
Oh, that's, man. Me and my brother, big Kelis fans.
Oh yeah.
At that time,
woo. Especially those first 3 or 4, including that album she had that only released overseas,
Wonderland.
She had some really great albums, and whatever happened in the background, like she said what's happened, but I'm like, I think a lot of people missed out on, even though she had success, I feel like a lot of people still missed out on the greatness of what her run was and what she could have done.
Domestically, yeah, because what was interesting was like the whole time I worked with her, it was all international stuff.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and like they accepted her in a whole different way. You know what I mean? Like she had status internationally, like similar to, I'd say, like the way people look at a Rihanna.
Really? Okay, that's excellent.
They loved it.
What was that like also experiencing, was this the first time you're internationally traveling?
That was my first time like doing international work, and it was like the jump for me too, because like Wayman was at a, you know, it was like jumping from the local level to the national level. Yeah. You know, and that was cool. But this went and jumped to like an international pop star level. Because literally, like we were doing like Virgin Music Festival Run, which is a bunch of festivals out in the middle of nowhere throughout parts of Europe.
That's huge.
That'd be 150, 175,000 people. Yeah. You know, just a sea of folks, man, and they like worship Kelis. You know what I mean? Like it was wild. So like that was a big step for me too, because like those stages were bigger. Like, you know, I'm playing like international hit every night playing Milkshake. That was like a huge song, which is a big jump from playing like, you know, tunes that Wayman had that his fans knew, but like Milkshake was like, man, you know what I mean? So that was a lot of pressure because I was like, man, this is a new space and I can't mess it up. You know what I'm saying?
Now you come off that Kelis tour, and then what do you lead into next? Because once you do a big international tour, does that kind of start to open up doors to other artists and stuff?
I mean, so yeah, that was the time where I decided to move to Atlanta. You know, because for that reason. You know, I was coming out here a lot because she was living here. That was when she was married to Nas, so they lived in Atlanta. So I had to come here for rehearsals and, you know, other prep stuff. And I started to see like, okay, there's a difference in the infrastructure for the music industry in Atlanta. Mm-hmm. There's a big difference between Atlanta and Houston.
We hear that a lot. I mean, if you can allude to it, like what would you say are some of the major differences that you're seeing?
I mean, it's really just the fact that like where there's infrastructure in the business, then you have like label offices, you have you know, managers that will live in town, you have PR companies that spring up, you have everything around it. And it starts to kind of be based in one place. You know? So that's why a lot of people from Houston have to kind of leave Houston because some of the things that you're going to need access to, they don't exist there. But it's only because a lot of artists don't park there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What year was this?
2004.
Okay,
this is 04.
Yeah, like so 03, 04 was the period I was playing with Kelis, and then at the end of that 04 run, like I didn't even fly back to Houston. I hit up, I wasn't married yet, but my eventual wife, I called her one day. I was in Germany. I was like, yo, let's move to Atlanta. And she was like, bet. And I was like, I didn't expect her to say that. So like it went from being kind of a joke to put it in motion. And then she packed a U-Haul, found a spot, drove to Atlanta, and I just flew from the last show, wherever we were, and I just met her in Atlanta. And,
oh, wow.
So you already had a place to go to and everything.
That's good. I went home, you know.
Yeah, you went home to Atlanta.
Yeah,
that's not bad. So once you're in Atlanta, then again, like the Kelis, how long are you guys still working with, or how long are you still working with Kelis?
Man, honestly, after that tour, I never worked with her again after that. And after that tour, she only did one other.
Yeah, she only did like one more album, I think.
One more album after that.
Yeah, with the Bossy single. And
yeah,
she didn't really tour hard on that. Like
I think now she's a chef now, I believe. Yeah, she has a show on Netflix and she does a few things out there. So I think she moved into the cooking sphere. Yeah. So who was the next major artist that you were looking at that point?
So when I got here, man, started just trying to plant some roots, you know, and using the network of people that I did know. And so it wasn't too long after I got here that I started doing some work with Jermaine Dupri. One of my other buddies pulled me in to some stuff with him. We did the Letterman show first. And then from that, like, you know, I started kind of plugging in with some of the artists that he was trying to break at that time, like Jonte Austin and this little kid, Maestro, Harrell. Mm-hmm. Like he never broke as an artist, but most people know him from, he's an actor too. He was on the series, the season of The Wire where they focused on the kids most. So it was like Wallace and
which one was he?
Maestro was he had braids. So you know it was, you got Michael B. Jordan.
Yeah.
It was Wallace, and then you had what's the other kid that's a rapper too? Mac Wilds.
Mac Wilds is the one I was thinking of, but okay.
And then this is the other one. It was 3 of them. He was the smallest.
Okay.
He's the one that came from the Good Family, right?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Your boy. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay.
He was kind of like the main character to me.
Yeah.
He was my favorite one.
That's it. For that season, yeah. It was all about him that season. So yeah, so he was signed to So Def, and so they were trying to break him. So I was working in the So Def machine, just, you know, really jumping in, doing these showcases with all these artists that he was trying to break. So, so that was cool. And then I did a couple things with JD, but he really wasn't putting out a bunch of music. He had one single that he did. That's the single that we performed on Letterman. That's when he was with Janet Jackson, so I got to see Janet Jackson. That was cool.
You remember that single?
Huh?
You remember what song it was?
The single?
Yeah.
Yeah, I Gotta Get You.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
It was him and Jonte.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And he's always doing work somehow behind the scenes and so on.
Yeah.
And during that Janet Jackson phase, it was like, we would see him a lot of places. But he wasn't releasing so much music under just his name.
Yeah. But he was moving and shaking big time. So.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
That made a lot of work.
You said what now?
That made for a lot of work,
Oh yeah. I think the last thing I saw about Jermaine Dupri was when he released that him reworking the sample for June 27th.
Mm-hmm.
Where he was saying like, he goes, I didn't even know y'all was feeling like, he goes, and I said, I remember that. I remember hearing the Criss Cross song and never putting the two together.
Yeah.
Really? I never, until he played it, I never put those two songs together.
Didn't either.
Yeah. I literally, until he played it, I was like, dog, that is definitely the Criss Cross song. And DJ Screw definitely completely flipped it.
He took it from, I had the album. That's all I remember. My mom bought it for me.
I had the album.
I would always be like, this Streets Ain't Right. But I remember that because you probably heard it from my CD because he was old enough.
Yeah.
I was buying me Criss Cross. I was like.
My mom wasn't letting us listen to that no kind of explicit lyric music. So Criss Cross was the best that you could get. Like at that time. You had to sneak everything else.
That's funny.
So after working with So Def, like let's get to the point where because again, you've come up in the church world. Like I feel like a lot of great African like black artists.
Yeah.
A lot of us come out of that church thing, but still we're working in a lot of secular music. What were your feelings when you first get the contact to connect with Lecrae?
Honestly, bro, like I was similar to you. I just wasn't really trying to
yeah.
Like up until that point, man, like and not in an arrogant way, but I was really trying to be I was new to Atlanta in a way. So I was trying to be focused on making sure I was building my resume the right way. You know what I'm saying? And it was starting to look a little decent because I had a few cool names on it. So it wasn't like I could afford to turn anything down, but I was trying to be smart about the moves I was making. You know what I'm saying? So when they called at first, I was like, nah, man, like this, I just felt like it was going to be really trash music. You know what I'm saying? And I was, feeling like it's just not going to be a good look for my resume, and totally respecting their mission and all of that. But I just was like, man, I don't know. So I did a lot of research because I hadn't heard of them at all. Like I hadn't heard of Lecrae. I hadn't heard of like Reach. I hadn't heard of any of those artists. And like I said, at that time, man, I was like, I'm kind of riding high a little bit. Like, man, I'm trying to like really make some real moves. And so once I did research though, I felt like they were a good group of people. It wasn't even a musical decision. It was like, man, I think these are good people. And because I was new to Atlanta, I was like, man, let me go do this work. Like I was just 100% like, this is a job. Let me go do this work, but plug in with some good people. Like that was my whole mission. And once I got involved, then I started to see like I was wrong about several things. Like I started to see like, man, these are actually like, music forward artists, and they're trying to, really make dope, really good music. And I was wrong about the fact that, one of the things I was worried about was like, because like when they called me, they were like, we're doing a 30-city tour. I was like, there's no way a Christian rapper can, can do that and like be able to afford that and be able to, like handle paying for a crew and a couple buses and, my brain just couldn't wrap around that. But the first night of the tour, they called a meeting about 6 o'clock before the show, and they were like, "Hey, are y'all cool with doing a second show? Because there's 1,500 people who ain't gonna get in." And I was like, "What?" Like it blew my mind, and so that's when I was like, "Okay, I just don't know about this lane. So let me try to figure it out and learn what they're doing." And then I realized, like, man, there's a whole subculture over here that, you know, is
what year was this?
This was 2010.
Okay.
So this is 2010, and that subculture and that section of music eventually leads you into winning awards, things like that. So yeah,
it was. I saw it right away. Literally, like the first day, I was like, okay, this is actually something, you know, and just something I hadn't been privy to know about. So it's been cool watching, you know, for the last 10 years, just watching them build, you know, their market and watching, you know, just how they approach the business. Like, I was right about that part for sure. Like, they're just really good people, really smart people. You know what I mean? And so yeah, it's been cool having a front row seat and getting to watch and learn from that too. You know.
What would you say?
At the perfect time too. So were you around for Church Close?
Yeah, I was like that first tour was before they released Rehab. You know what I mean?
So it was before Rehab.
Yeah, it was before Rehab. So it was like not quite at the very beginning, but real close.
Golly, man.
And then Lecrae is gone. I mean, he's really expanded what people see as Christian rap at this point. I mean, when you're doing Gangsta Grillz mixtapes and stuff like that, like all of a sudden it's like, oh, okay, this is more open. What would you say are some of the big things that you've seen change, at least in that genre of music, since you've been in?
One of the biggest and probably most important things is the quality of the music. The quality of the artist has like gone up like exponentially. You know what I mean? Like for a long time, it just kind of had this vibe, like you know, we're just doing this for the Lord and we're doing it for the youth groups. So excellence is not necessarily the most important thing. You know what I mean? It's just like we gotta just make some music and we gotta say Jesus like 5 or 6 times in this song and then we good to go. Like nothing else really matters. But I've definitely watched the artistry and like there's some young boys right now who are really just like they're killing it the way that, you know, they're presenting it the way it should be presented. Like it's really, really good music and it's, you know, it's positive in its nature, however they approach that, you know, like everybody's not trying to preach a sermon. Some people are, you know, and it ain't no right or wrong way, but they've definitely taken it to the level where it should go, to where you can play it for anybody and it's not gonna make that person feel like, oh, you're preaching at me, or make that person be like, man, what is this? This is like, you know, 8th grade music.
Yeah. Now, tell us about. Oh wait, Avery, were you gonna say something?
No, I'm just laughing at that.
Yeah, because it's definitely changing.
Worst kept secret ever. Like nobody wants to talk about it, but yeah, bro, it used to be real bad.
I understand. We thought so as well. We were listening to before Lecrae, like literally, it's him that really started it. We were listening to just, you know, going to church. They would play like certain rappers, and I'd be like Diddy's on the radio. Like I don't want to hear any of it. It was bad.
The way you described it is like it was literally like, well, you know, your people that don't listen, your parents that don't listen to rap are like, well, this guy said Jesus 4 or 5 times, so he has to be good. And then you listen to it, it's like, man, these lyrics are horrible. Like this is some of the worst rapping I've ever heard.
The beats would be dated. It would be like 2001, and the beat would sound like it's 1996.
Yeah,
like West Coast, and you're like,
yes. And we got like a little running joke, and it's so accurate. It's like you can tell when dudes got saved because like whenever that was, that's when they stopped. So like if it was 93 and they got saved in 93 and they trying to make some Christian rap music and it's 2000, it's gonna sound like 93.
93. It's gonna sound like some Ice Cube beats. You like,
Yes.
bruh, it is 2009. Like,
Yeah. But yeah, man, like Lecrae and really their whole team, man, they were real pointed about trying to attack that and trying to make it better and push the envelope forward. And you know, and also just trying to not get boxed into just making music for the church or just making music for like youth groups, like, but making music that you can play for my cousin who ain't ever trying to go to church. You know what I'm saying?
I understand you.
Yeah.
But he'll listen to it and then be like, man, I like that.
Which brings more people to the message that you're trying to get out. So that should be the point. And this eventually winds up with Lecrae. I mean, you eventually wind up you win 2 Grammys.
Yeah.
So tell us about winning those Grammys and how winning those have changed your career.
Yeah, man. Just honestly, just blessed that they would even like hit me up to contribute to those 2 records that I did. It was really just like, man, we need some additional drum stuff, you know. So I won these awards for really just doing what I do and just kind of jumping in on a song that was already a good song and just adding, you know, a little piece to it. And so, yeah, man, like that's just being able to put that on my resume can open up, you know, lots of doors. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Like I'm actually getting ready to go back to school now because like it's a great time because of this pandemic. So I'm going back to PV, starting in a week. But you know, just having this on my resume I was able to get a couple of classes exempted because, you know, like I'm able to show like I have a professional resume already. So a couple of business development classes, like cool, they'll wipe those away. Like,
PV took the Grammys. They were like, "Hey, man, my man got the Grammy."
But it's just on my resume, you know. So it just shows that I'm working at a professional level. So
that's a big thing because, and this is not just PV. To get any HBCU to take accreditation from anywhere is a struggle. Like
they just gave up some thousands of dollars by letting me do that. You know, they ain't trying.
Yeah, it's a struggle. They usually are like, nah, I don't care how much your course catalog match up. They're like, nah, we're not doing that. So yeah, no, that's a huge thing.
Yeah, so, man. And there's definitely other opportunities that will continue to come, and when I'm able to throw that in the mix, like it just helps some doors fly wide open. You know what I'm saying?
That's excellent. That's excellent. Now, I guess before we get out of here, like tell us what it is that you're working on now, and really where you want to take this. Where I see you're doing online classes as well in terms of teaching percussion and things like that. Like, tell us about where you're trying to take your brand.
Yeah, man. So, you know, it's like a 2-pronged approach. It's always been, honestly, like I do what I do as a musician, as a producer, but honestly, like the big thing that I'm aiming at is just being a facilitator. So we have a label. This is what Proper Art is all about. Okay. You know, we have a label. We have a couple artists at the label who we just trying to use, you know, the platform that we have to springboard these other artists out there. And so yeah, like, you know, over here on the music side, I'm still writing and producing records. I'm releasing records on my own. Like, you can just search the Beatbreaker. We just released a single a couple weeks ago. It's called In My Lane. It's me and our artist Eli Lefty, who's super dope, genius dude. Like he's about to unload the bag. But so yeah, there's all of the music things that are happening over here, and I'm not gonna stop that. And then on the other side, Proper Art is gearing up to like have a pretty busy fall leading to next year. Man, we're doing some stuff with Phil that's gonna be hilarious, but it's also gonna be some really good music. You know what I mean? He's got a.
Oh, that's incredible. No, tell us more about Proper Art, and while you're doing that, I'm gonna show the Instagram page that y'all got going. Tell us some more about Proper Art in general.
So man, so like we talked a little bit earlier, you and I, about the difference between like the infrastructure that exists in Atlanta versus the infrastructure that exists like in Houston, man. So me and my partner Ira, like we were discussing this a while back, some years ago, and we decided that we wanted to start to try to build some infrastructure in the city, you know? And so we started the label, and one of the first things that we did was start to create platforms to just give the local artists in Houston a place to come and perform their original music and not have to just do cover tunes or whatever, you know what I'm saying? And then from there, we signed a couple artists, and we're just, you know, following down that path of building those artists and you know, creating some real viability with the artists, man. And that's just one of our passions. Like we want to see like the artists have a shot to really make it happen. And we know that in order for that to happen, you got to have a good springboard. Like that's step one for every independent artist, is you got to get heard. So we're trying to fill that gap, you know, not just for our own artists, but also for you know, other local artists who we see putting in the work.
Absolutely.
That's what Proper Art is all about. Like we're trying to just facilitate and be a help for some other artists to make it, you know.
All right, that's great. And I guess just kind of one of the last things, just let people know where they can find you, where they can find Make Proper Art, just so people can see and keep up with what you guys are doing.
Right. So all social media platforms, we are at Make Proper Art. Myself, I am _ the Beatbreaker. No fancy spelling or nothing like that. Just _ THE Beatbreaker. And then also follow Eli Lefty, and his socials is Eli _ Lefty. And yeah, like you, and then everybody knows Phil Wade at Mr. Phil Wade. Yeah. He's definitely, we got some real special stuff coming, man. Y'all gonna love this Phil stuff.
Yeah, well, we're all looking forward to everything that you guys are getting ready to do. You, Phil, Eli, and everybody from the Make Proper Art family.
Yeah, man.
That's good.
It's gonna be a fun ride. We're getting ready to unload the bag, so yeah, man.
We want to thank you, man. Thanks a lot for coming through. Thanks a lot for telling us and letting us be a part of your journey. It's also just good to see. I just have one question before we go too. What was it like working with Tank?
Man, that was
Tank.
I'm a big Tank fan. Tank fan.
Yes.
All right, so I'll tell you this. Since you're a fan, this is important to know. Like, you know how they say, like, don't meet your idols, right?
Yeah.
He defies that rule. Like, he's one of the coolest dudes that I've ever worked around. You know what I mean? Like, super just chill and like real dude. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, you would never know that ladies throw their panties at him everywhere you go, because he just
wow. And the funny Tank, I feel like it's almost like that Kelis conversation where I feel like he gets his accolades, but for his level of talent, I still feel like he doesn't
underrated.
He is still somehow underrated, because there are certain songs I've heard where I've gone back and looked at the production credits and I'm like, oh, this is Tank. Like Tank did this.
That was one of the dopest parts of like playing with him and playing with Jonte Austin. Like during both of their shows, they would sit down and go through a bunch of songs they've written, and you could see the people's in like faces, like just like jaws dropping. They're like, "Oh my God, I didn't know that was him." And he just going song after song after song that you didn't know was his catalog. You know,
awesome.
That was impressive. And so yeah, I definitely believe he's underrated. That's probably part of the reason why a lot of people don't understand how much of his music that they are digesting, because it all doesn't come from him directly.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
When he disappears, he's not gone. He's writing for people.
No.
Yeah.
I mean, he had, I think on Kelly Rowland's first album, he and Kelly Rowland have a song that I was like, this should have been a single. Easy.
Yeah.
And you know, it's certain things where there are a few Tank songs that he's worked with people where I was like, I feel like this should have been a single, and people would have probably listened to more of this album. Like, yeah, he puts in work.
He does. He does.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man. Awesome. Good to see one musician talk about another musician. Like I said, we really want to thank you, Nate the Beatbreaker Robinson, for coming through. Yeah, I didn't trip it up this time. Too many bees. But yeah, it's awesome. I want to thank you once again, in my humble opinion, where the opinions aren't humbled, the words aren't jumbled either. I've been Avery. That's Just Devon. And we've had our guest, Nate Robinson, man.
All right.